Hi, everybody. Hi.
Hello.
We're here to talk about kindness. And as I look around the room, because I've been around for a long, long time, I know lots of you. I don't know everybody in the room, but I guess what I want to say is that I know the people who are in the room that I know are some of the kindest, most loving people that I know. So I feel like I might be preaching to the choir. Do you know what I mean? Like you all know what this talk's going to be about. Our talk is entitled Kindness Will Get You Everywhere. And we're going to co-present because we started working together. Sheldon and I started working together this year, so we're kind of experimenting with some ideas. So I've been doing lots of love research, and in the last 3 years I've been very curious about love because it kind of confuses me. A lot of it confuses me. But what I've really learned is that kindness is really, it goes hand in hand with love. Would you agree? Yeah, me too. Kindness really is love with work boots on. That's what I think. It's the way we show our love is through our kindness and our kind acts.
And it ties into some of the work that I've been doing in Michigan for about the last 8 to 10 years, really with an organization called the Center for Positive Living Supports, where we've continued to look at and are actually pretty explicit about talking about how love impacts the ways in which we interact with each other. The fact that we all actually need to feel loved in relationships or valued in relationships. And much of what kindness is related to as far as love is that when we're in love or we're loving towards people, that kindness easily shows up for each of us. And the truth is that we think that this idea of love is one that's not only going to heal us and our relationships, but it's actually going to help to heal those around us and perhaps, hopefully, the world itself. The other piece that is, I think, important that connects to this idea of kindness is that ultimately our job is to help people feel safe with us, and that kindness is one of the ways in which we can make that happen. That safety is really critical for people to be in relationship, and they have to feel safe not only with the person, but in the environment that they're in and in the kinds of interactions that they have. And kindness is really one of the ways to help to make that happen. And sometimes it's just one of those simple things, right? It's like being with somebody that you know and love and care about and what that might look like. But that ultimately we want people to feel safe, and that kindness is one of the ways that people start to feel or experience that sense of safety with us. And then the connection between that is that if people feel safe with us and they feel valued or loved by us, that all of a sudden trusting relationships start to show up. There actually becomes a reciprocity, but that kindness is the vehicle that can get us there.
So we've been thinking about this for a while. For sure, Sheldon's been thinking about kindness for a lot longer than I have in terms of the work we do. But we want to make it clear that we're not really talking about how we might work in a kind way. We're actually talking about who we are in our lives. And it's for us, it's not something that we do, it's who we are. And so one of the things we like to do is we like to get into conversations. So if anybody wants to talk to us about this, we're around for the next 3 days, and we'd love to talk more about it. Last night we were together with our friend Rebecca Pauls, who is a director at Plan, and she came. She's one of our wise friends, so we have lots of wise friends, and we were talking about this idea: what is kindness? How do we talk about kindness in this work, in this world? And she gave us this beautiful question. So simple, right? What if we just did every good thing that came into our minds or our imaginations? What if we just did every good thing? What if we acted on it? What would the world be like? So are you in your minds right now thinking, well, interesting idea. Like, what if I had a thought about something I could do that was loving and kind for someone or even for myself? What would that look like? Are you thinking about that? Think about that for a second. What might you do if you just did it? Yeah. Okay, one more slide. Okay. One kind thing you're doing is waiting for me, who's 60, who can't remember unless she sees the slide. So as you're thinking about those ideas, right, what kind thing might you do for somebody? You're getting a lot of really good health benefits, and that's just one of the things we wanted to point out about kindness. When you are even just thinking about doing something in a kind way, or when someone's doing something kind for you, your brain actually gets a lot of different hormones that are very supportive to you. And oxytocin is one of those hormones. Oxytocin is the hormone that helps us to bond and to be connected with one another. So just think of that. If you're struggling with an idea, although I imagine you're not, if you're struggling with, oh, should I do something in a kind way or not, there's also some health benefits for it.
So the work that I've been doing at the center is also kind of based on these 6 elements. So we were talking about safe and loved or safe and valued as 2 of those elements a little earlier. And positive interactions are really the most important and the key way in which we actually interact with each other and provide support to each other. And most of those positive interactions really show up as kindness, ways in which we engage with people to help them feel supported. But the reality is that it actually has to be an intentional act. What I've learned in the last 10 years, and probably really all of my career, is that the kinder that you are to people, the more response you get from them as far as engagement is concerned. But that it has to be an intentional act, that we actually have to make a choice to be kind in the face of sometimes very unkind situations or unkind people. There's a meme, I actually probably should have put it in this presentation, that says, be kind to those who are unkind to you, for they're the ones who need it most. And I think the reality is, if we can figure out how to be intentional in being kind to those around us, that we actually can start to change the world. And those positive interactions can be really simple things amongst us, right? A smile across the room. I've love coming to these conferences in British Columbia with Shelley because she knows so many people, and so the number of people that show up with a big smile on their face and want to make sure that they have some connection and remember that they've seen Shelley here or there, or they haven't seen her in a while, and the greetings that people get. And now that I'm becoming a little bit of a part of that community, it shows up for me too, people being kind and supportive and being intentional in what that might look like.
So we always like to tell a story, and I'm sure you'll have lots of stories yourselves that you're thinking about kindness, things that people have done for you that have been kind, or kind to someone who you love, which can also be a very powerful experience. And also you're probably thinking about some of the ways where you are a kind person in the world. So this is my dad, and that's me. This is about 2012. My dad passed away in 2012. He was 84, so he lived a long life. And he got quite sick quite quickly. And my sister and I have a younger sister who we supported him through his passing. But it all happened very quickly, and we ended up at the hospital with him at emergency because we knew he wasn't doing well. You know, sometimes when you're ill, you're okay, and then all of a sudden you're not doing well, and that's what was happening with my pop. And it had been a very stormy time. All of you have been through this. You know what it's like to support somebody. And my sister and I really didn't have a lot of information about my dad. We knew he was sick. We knew we were in the right place, that he was in the hospital, and they were helping him. They were going to help him to manage his pain. So my sister and I were in the emergency. My dad was just sort of sleeping on a bed in the hallway at emergency in the hospital. And a doctor, a very good-looking doctor, actually, it helped a little. He was really good-looking, lovely Greek doctor, and he had a name about this long, very long Greek name. And he came and he looked at my sister and I, and he said, he asked, "Do you know what's going on with your dad?" And we said, "Well, we understand the diagnosis, but we're just not quite sure what's going on." And so he said, he said, "Your dad is about the same age my dad is." And he said, "I'm going to treat your dad the way I would treat my dad, so you can feel confident that we're going to make sure your dad's okay." And in that moment, that was probably one of the kindest things anybody could do, because we were afraid, the hospitals are big and systems are big. And when he extended that act of kindness through his work, and he didn't have to, it was a busy emergency ward, had a million things he was trying to deal with, and yet he took the time to take us over to a computer and show us on the computer, what was going on with my dad, and just to give us all the information that he felt we needed to be okay. So the reason I tell the story is because for me, it's one of many stories of people who have extended kindness to me, which in turn just makes me go out there and deepen my kindness.
So I've been sharing a lot of poetry in the work that we've been doing for a while, and so there's this woman, Naomi Shihab-Nye, who has written a poem that's called Gate A4 that I think in many ways, I use it in a number of ways at workshops, but I think it exemplifies this idea of what kindness is and what it can look like for people. Called Gate A4. Wandering around the Albuquerque airport, after learning my flight had been delayed 4 hours, I heard an announcement. If anyone in the vicinity of Gate A4 understands any Arabic, please come to the gate immediately. Well, one pauses these days. Gate A4 was my own gate. I went there. An older woman in full traditional Palestinian embroidered dress, just like my grandma wore, was crumpled on the floor wailing. "Help," said the flight agent. "Talk to her. What's her problem?" We told her flight was going to be late, and she did this. I stooped to put my arm around the woman and spoke haltingly in Arabic. The minute she heard any word she knew, however poorly used, she stopped crying. She thought the flight had been canceled entirely. She needed to be in El Paso for major medical treatment the next day. I said, "No, we're fine. You'll get there. Just later. Who is picking you up? Let's call him." We called her son. I spoke with him in English. I told him I would stay with his mother till we got on the plane and ride next to her. She talked to him too. Then we called her other sons just for the fun of it. Then we called my dad, and he and she spoke for a while in Arabic, and of course found out that they had 10 shared friends. Then, just for the heck of it, I thought, why not call some Palestinian poets I know and let them chat with her? This all took up 2 hours. She was laughing a lot by then, telling of her life, patting my knee, answering questions. She had pulled a sack of homemade mamoul cookies, little powdered, crumbly sugar mounds stuffed with dates and nuts from her bag, and was offering them to all the women at the gate. To my amazement, not a single woman declined one. It was like a sacrament. The traveler from Argentina, the mom from California, the lovely woman from Laredo, we were all covered with the same powdered sugar and smiling. There is no better cookie. And then the airline broke out the free apple juice from huge coolers, and 2 little girls from our flight ran around serving it, and they were covered with powdered sugar too. I noticed my new friend, by now we were holding hands, had a potted plant poking out of her bag, some medicinal thing with furry green leaves. Such an old country tradition. Always carry a plant. Always stay rooted to somewhere. And I looked around that gate of late and weary ones and thought, this is the world I want to live in. The shared world. Not a single person in that gate, once the crying of confusion had stopped, seemed apprehensive about any other person. They took the cookies. I wanted to hug all those other women too. This can still happen anywhere. Not everything is lost.
So we want to invite you all for the next 2 days, go kind on someone. Go be kind. Be kind to yourselves, and have fun with it. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.